Linda Kozlowski of Evernote. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us here. You're in Australia, your first visit?
No, actually, I've been here many, many times. I'm a huge fan of Australia, particularly the food.
Particularly the food. I had someone visiting from the States last week saying, you have the best coffee. Have you tried our coffee?
Absolutely. Although probably being from the Bay Area, people get pretty proud about their coffee there. I shouldn't say that, but it's really, really good here.
Very good. Now, you probably know quite a bit about Australian business. I was looking at some of the statistics during your presentation. Before we talk about Australian business and how they're using your tool, tell us a little bit about Evernote. What can I, as a business owner, hope to benefit? How would I benefit?
Well, regardless if you're a large business or a small business, everyone sort of has the same issue of you have all these people. Your people are your most valuable tool because they have so much knowledge. So how do you actually find that knowledge and how do you actually harvest that knowledge? And it's the same thing even as an individual. There's always things that you know that you did or you know you put somewhere but you can't remember exactly where you put it and you struggle to, find it again and it wastes a lot of time. It's the same thing with businesses. You want to be able to retrieve your knowledge very quickly, very easily, and not have to struggle to find it.
A lot of our community is in small business. So tell me, how is it that Australian small businesses are adapting tools like this that are in the cloud that allow them to be mobile and productive anywhere?
Yeah. Well, I think Australia is fascinating to me because it has such an entrepreneurial community. I mean, people in Australia, and I've been able to work with small businesses here for many years, and they always have such great ideas and they have no fear at all. But they also have a life, and they love to travel, and they love to do things outside of their business as well. As I sort of said earlier, there's really a blending of business and life. There's not a strong line between the two. So being able to have a tool that lets you manage your business, keep everything where you need to keep it, and access it anywhere you are in the world is perfect for the Australian market because there's so many small businesses. They drive the economy here, but the business can't stop when they go on vacation, or the business can't stop when they go to see their school, kids' school play. So being able to access that information for their business and manage it from anywhere is really in keeping with the Australian, entrepreneurial spirit and lifestyle.
So managing information, you've made very clear, is one of the things that we can do. What else how are people using it? Examples of small business.
Sure. So one example might be if you're running a retail shop. So say you own a retail shop and you're selling organic skincare products. As part of that, you need to manage your inventory. You need to know when your shipments are coming in. You need to track your invoices. You need to track your payroll, your employee reviews. There's a lot of information that you need to keep. If you keep it in file folders, then you only have access to that whenever you're near those file folders. So the nice thing about this is if you're off seeing another customer or maybe you're visiting a supplier of a new product that you want to buy, and you find out that another shipment that you're expecting is late, you can easily just look up the paperwork for that shipment, understand exactly who you need to call, what the terms were, without having to call someone back at the office, have them dig through some file folders, so you can answer questions much more easily. As a small business, this is really important because our resources are limited. So you need all the time that you can have to grow your business through other means, and that's not looking for paperwork. So that's one example of how you can use it. You can also use it if you're doing some sort of business where that's very knowledge-centric. So, for example, there's a lot of digital marketing and PR firms in this area. And they're constantly having to pull down news articles, share them with clients, create new writing documents that are going to be used across multiple maybe publications or different things, version different advertising campaigns. All of that requires collaboration and sharing. And having a tool that lets you do that and not lose track of who saw what and why they made a change that they made is quite important.
One of the ways that we currently manage a lot of the knowledge in our organisation is through the use of a wiki. And what I could see this morning is that is clunky compared to what we can do with Evernote. And this isn't just to promote the product, but the idea of being on a mobile device and having remote workers, but being able to have information anywhere. For me, the biggest thing is putting my brain somewhere. And I think that's what it was like to me. It's like I can just dump my brain into this tool.
Well, that's actually what we call it. We call it your external brain.
Okay.
Because that's really the idea behind it is all the things that you wish you could just retrieve through your normal brain, it's not always possible to do that. And so we want this to act just like your external brain. The issue with something like a wiki is you sort of have to disrupt your normal workflow in order to enter something into it. They have their purpose and they're very strong for several things, but what we're trying to do with Evernote is exactly like your brain. We want to help you along with your normal work pattern. So you don't have to deviate from what you're doing in order to remember to enter something in. Because if you have to do that, then it really defeats the purpose of the system.
What is it that has changed about the way small businesses work that makes this type of tool so relevant right now?
Well, so many things. I mean, first of all, small businesses now have so much more access to technology that they can afford. It used to be that technology was something you had to have an entire department to invest in and everything else, but that's really changed. So now small businesses, even one or two business, people, micro businesses, have access to technology that would have been unheard of a few years ago. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is really the difference in how people think about their teams. It used to be your team always was right there with you. And, we looked at some numbers on innovation this morning. One of the biggest barriers to innovation in Australia is finding talent. Well, that may mean that the person who has the smarts that you need isn't right beside you. They might be on the other side of the country, or they might be on the other side of the world. How are you supposed to work effectively with them? Again, this was never a problem for small businesses before because they wouldn't have considered having teams all over the world, but now they can because of technology.
Any other productivity tips you'd like to leave us with?
I think the most important thing about productivity is there's always been a lot of focus on multitasking, and that's great and that's wonderful, but I think we're seeing a shift in people realizing that in some cases you really need to focus on one thing at a time and sort of do that thing well. And the nice thing about using tools like Evernote and other tools is it lets you kind of get deep into something, but it also lets you, when you see something that catches your attention, you don't have to disrupt and change and move to that. You can just save it in to work on it later and not necessarily disrupt your normal flow. Because it is found that people are much more efficient when they focus on a task and get it done. And the ability to sort of clip and collect and say, all right, I want to deal with that, but I don't have to deal with it right now, makes people a lot more productive.
I know certainly for me that going down a rabbit hole and where was I, and suddenly I've gone down this track and totally away. And again, having spoken to thousands of businesswomen, that ability to focus is one of the barriers because it's so easy to be distracted.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.